All right, to this ongoing story now, the scheduled maintenance of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project tunnel is due to begin in October. And this project was developed as a partnership between Lesotho and South Africa. Let's talk about its significance now and speak to South African Water Chamber CEO Benoît Le Roy. Benoît, thank you so much for your time. Let's just start with, a number of people sometimes say that this gets lost in translation as to how important this particular project is. Let's talk to that viewer tonight who's watching us and saying, what are you talking about when you're talking about this Lesotho Highlands project, and how does it impact me?
So the project was thought of about 40 or 50 years ago, and it was really to try and address the central parts of South Africa. In those days, it was known as the Witwatersrand, that was booming with mining, to try and transfer more water. So instead of sending it down the Caledon into the Orange, into the Northern Cape, into the Atlantic, was to divert part of it through a series of tunnels and dams into what is today Gauteng. So there's several phases, and phase one was completed some time back very successfully. Phase two is in progress, but unfortunately is suffering from a decade in delays. But that's not really an issue for Gauteng as we speak at the moment. And every 5 years, there's some preventative maintenance that's done in the tunnels because, they're running wet all the time. It's concrete, it's reinforced concrete, which is the liner, and it has to be drained and inspected. And 5 years ago, they identified certain spots that need to be repaired, and we're going to go through that again, and we're going to have some preventative maintenance. 5 years ago, people weren't tuned into water. Nobody knew it happened, except those of us in the water sector, and things carried on. It will be exactly the same this time round.
So when you talk about, things being exactly the same, sometimes when we hear issues of maintenance, there is some panic that goes into motion. A number of people saying, will we have water? Will we not? What happens? How then do you mitigate the impact on the ground? So when then we look at this particular issue of maintenance of this tunnel, you look at systems like, for example, the Vaal River system and Rand Water as well. Could we see an impact there?
No, so the integrated Vaal River system is at least 14 dams, of which 2 or 3 are fairly large and deep in the high mountains of the Drakensberg and Lesotho. And we also have the biggest dam. It has the same volume, roughly speaking, as the Vaal Dam, which is Sterkfontein, and that's at very high altitude. It has no catchment. It is fed from the Tugela, and that has roughly a year's worth of supply. And that's our storage battery. And we last used, I think, end of 2017, end of the drought. We used it over the festive season. It takes a few weeks to flow into the Vaal, but enough storage and capacity. The integrated Vaal River system at the end of the rainy season had 86 or 84% in its dams. So, the maintenance would be deferred if we were sort of at the 30 or 40%. We're not. So we're in a very healthy situation. Look, the good thing is that people are tuned into water. People are very aware of water, but the issue is not there in the integrated Vaal River system. The issue is with the municipalities and the metros whose distribution systems like electricity have not been maintained. Those are the issues. So we've got to be careful not to chastise when the big water utilities or the bulk water actually do the preventative maintenance as they're supposed to do. But everything's being scrutinized now because people are becoming more tuned into the issues.
Yeah, and could there be an impact as you talk about municipalities?
No, nothing whatsoever. The problem with the municipalities is that their systems, we still have summer demand in Gauteng with our 3 metros.
Yeah.
And that demand is physical leaks. It's not you and I. So it's not business or anything like that. So the system is leaking like a bucket, but with a few extra holes over the last while. And the distribution is the real issue. It's not the bulk supply. So the bulk supply, we are fine. It's finely tuned. Even if you don't get good rains next season, we still got Sterkfontein and a few other dams. So there isn't an issue really with this at all. We need to focus on the metros. We have to brought you tasks. They're not putting money, they're not putting budget into the distributions. And that's where the issue lies. You know, Rand Water has put in over 30 billion in capital expenditure over the next couple of years, and they're busy with it. As we know, they're starting next week with, it's not just the 32 billion, but part of that, and we're going to have some reduced supply, etc. But the problem doesn't lie with the integrated Vaal River system, doesn't lie with the Lesotho Highlands, doesn't lie with Rand Water. The problem we have at the moment is how do we sort out our metros, and in Gauteng. Obviously, there's others in the rest of the country, but in Gauteng, we need those distribution systems to be sorted out. It's roughly 50 billion rand, so we need to go cap in hand.
And when then it comes to Benoît, especially the issue of maintenance, as you know, when you listen to those involved in the projects, including the Department of Water and Sanitation, they speak about how essential and critical this maintenance is. And I wonder how important is it, particularly in ensuring the integrity of the tunnel systems.
So this is being done, you know, with international best practice. We have not had any failures in the Lesotho Highlands scheme. The dams were 2 years ago very, very low levels, and we've managed to work our way through because there's been less snow. They've been quite full with the last snows of last season and with the rains. So, you know, the problem, our bulk water systems are fairly well managed, fairly well maintained, and we haven't seen any major issues on that front. The issues are again at metro level. They're not at a bulk water level, DWS level, you know, TCTA level, which is involved in Lesotho Highlands, etc. Those are in pretty good condition, and they are big, they are resilient, and they're a lot easier. Although they're big in volume, they're a lot easier to manage than the municipal distribution systems that are underground. And you know, out of sight, out of mind sort of strikes a little bit too often at the moment. And that's where the issues lie. But not only that, it's also the amount of storage we have in our metros is not adequate. We're supposed to have 2-day storage. We don't have that. So we got to increase not only the asset management, but also the storage in the system. We have to cater for an increased population. It has doubled in 40 years, but the water systems haven't in Gauteng. That's where the issue really lies.
And I hope we do get to circle back to that particular issue and what then happens. But thank you so much for your time this evening. That was South African Water Chamber CEO Benoît Le Roy.